Paolo, I invited you today to speak about your sporting guns because, as you remember, we have already done an interview with you about all the products in total. And
Absolutely.
today
Yes.
I would like to speak more about the competition line because the season is very close, and so I hope that tomorrow all people will come to our shop to buy guns. Let us shortly tell people how Zoli started with this part of business.
Sorry, can you repeat because the line is going?
Go back, please.
Okay.
Back. Okay, perfect. Tell us, please, how Zoli company started to work in this part of business, in sporting.
Let's say that Antonio Zoli company has been always manufacturing sporting guns since ever. But let's say that we decided to enter more seriously in this business in the middle of the 90s when we started with this the actual project, and we decided to create a proper competition gun. In few, please.
I will not translate now because I would like to put the translation over your words after. Okay.
Okay, very good. So in few words, we didn't want it to use even if it was a nice game gun to be converted into a competition, but we meant to design a completely competition shotgun fully dedicated to this purpose. Mm-hmm. So in the middle of the 90s, we started with the actual project. Mm-hmm. At that time was named the Focus project, and then became Kronos as a first model, and the Z gun line afterwards up to the today custom shop. Mm-hmm. So this was really, well, the project has started in the middle of the 90s, and the first prototype of the gun saw the light at year 2000, end of 2001, beginning of 2002. And the first pre-series of 50 guns was in 2003. And then little by little took place the production and became a full takeover, completely and full against the old line in 2005. Mm-hmm. Today, since the prototype up to the yesterday sales, we are proud to say that we sold over 36,000 competition guns around the world of a new line, including, and today we can say that the Z gun line has exceeded the quantity of Kronos sold, and the custom shop, it is really doing very well.
Угу. Ребята, у нас уже был подробный ролик о том, чем отличается Zoli Z-Gun от Zoli Kronos. По ссылке в описании можно будет пройти и посмотреть эти пояснения. Paolo, and I think that different producers have different opinion. What is the main point in a sporting gun? On which detail the quality of the sporting gun depends?
There is not, I'm afraid that maybe I will surprise a little bit when there is not a specific point. Like in any project, it is the balance between the elements that makes a gun to be as much as possible proper to the use for which it has been designed. And I could mention you some of the main important factors. Of course, it's very important that the gun perform for the dynamic. What does it mean? This means that the gun, when you are holding or mounting your gun, you have a very easy and friendly approach. Then it is very important that when you move the gun, you feel it as an extension of your body. And then when you shoot your gun, you feel a comfortable recoil to be, as we can say, progressive, so to keep you absolutely in line from the first to the second shots. And when you have been shooting the barrel performance, and in this case we talk about ballistic, it is supplying a high performance, not to be what we call an aggressive ballistic, but not to be against, once again, the comfort. So you can understand that the elements are, let's say, related to a very good competition gun is about, for instance, ergonomy, distribution of a weight, point of balance, let's say aggressive ballistic, comfort, and for instance, when it comes to the ballistic, I would like to say that, and beside the performance in general, it is very important to reach the reliability. And the reliability is a very important aspect for shooters that they need to compete and they need to rely 100% of the quality or their products.
Yes, sure. And of course, we should not forget about the service, because service is, I think, in my gradation, this is number 2.
When all the elements that I have described to you, especially when we're talking about a product that has got a high value, like Zoli, for instance, there is a moment where the product it is leaving and going away from who has designed it, and it is entering into the market. So at this point in time, it is very important, the reliability, because it has to not only to continue to give a good service, but also to maintain the performance through the time. But it is a mechanical part. So after a long use, the service, it is really the parts, you are completely right, that is going to accomplish the 360 degrees approach. Mm-hmm. And even if we consider the service after sales, you will find out that once again, all these specifications that must be excellent, they have to interact between each others in a very balanced way, because this is really the very important. It is the most difficult one, because there are some products that are exceeding in maybe reliability, some others that are exceeding in performance of ballistic, some others from some other aspect. But what is important, it is to have really all these elements to be balanced between each others. Otherwise, the product, it is missing something.
Mm-hmm. Paolo, how did you imagine the idea to do the service like you do? At every competition, normally in Europe, at almost each big competition, you can always find the moving laboratory of Zoli that really helps people to be maintained and free of charge always. That's wonderful.
Let's say that we have been introducing a new approach, not new in the way that we go to the center of interest and we follow the shooters, but the way we did. I'm proud to say that thanks to the activity that Zoli is taking and doing around the world, and thanks to the cooperation from my employees and thanks to the cooperation of my distributors, Zoli has been introducing a new level in the quality of a service.
Exactly.
Exactly. It is, we do much more than what generally is done on a shooting range. That means that we do operations that normally are done only in-house. We have been made it in external situation, and then also is the approach. But this is a little bit, has got a little bit more wider view that is related to the general approach to the market from a Zoli company. When you buy a Zoli product, you don't buy only a very high value product, but you become a member of a family that is the producer, the distributor, the dealer, and the shooter. The shooter, it is in our idea, the most important, let's say, element in, if you would like to call the chain of the inside of a distribution. Mm-hmm. Because finally, if you think, Maria, what a manufacturer has to do and what a distributor has to do and what a dealer has to do, it is everything oriented to satisfy the customer. And mm-hmm. in this case, it is the shooter. And the shooter, let me tell you, is, let's say, probably the customer that needs to get the best of everything because he's going to compete in a high level, and a small mistake can be more dangerous for him or more hard to accept compared to any other category because he's competing to win, and we know how much is required in terms of learning, practicing, spending money to go 1, 2, 3 times a week to the shooting ranges. So cannot be possible that maybe for a small detail he can lose maybe a competition or even the enthusiasms because the tool is not providing the performance that he's expecting to receive.
Paolo, all my friends who have Zoli gun, they all say in one voice that the balance is absolutely wonderful, that it's very easy to manage the gun, to move it and so on. How do you achieve this result? On which factors this result is combined?
Once again, this is probably one of the, let's say, elements that has made Zoli to be so successful in this market. It is not easy to answer this also because we like to keep a precise, let's say, recipe of this, as you may understand, confidential. But there is only one way. It is to use the modern sciences and the modern applications of those sciences. You need to strongly like to achieve a kind of specifications that are belonging to your idea of gun. Let me tell you in this concern that we are a little bit proud for not having, as let me use this term to make it easy, copy any other company. Mm-hmm. We have been inspired by other companies for which we admire very much, because there are some names in this business that has been doing a lot for this sport. But not, we never wanted to be just a copy. We were determined to produce a kind of scientific model of gun that was belonging to our own experience. We are a company that it is 75 years old and has been producing more than 500,000 of guns. So many concepts, many ideas, many procedures has been matured inside of this company. So we know how to build a gun, but also we know how we like our which is our idea of gun. So in one way, we went against the existing. We took the risk to do something different, but likely enough ended to be comfortable, easy, performing, and why Zoli has been so close to the center of interest around the world? Because it's a matter to let people to understand. Because what I'm telling you now, it is not just a few words. Everybody would like to say, I'm the best here and the best there. But the problem is, you go to a shooter beside words and say, please try the gun and let me know what you think. And this is where the shooter potentially start to think to purchase a Zoli, because the feeling he got during the test made him to be convinced more than any other words. We can spend thousands of words, but at the end, what counts is the test made by the shooter, and that translates into the results.
Paolo, tell us about the concept balance between hands.
The concept of balance between hands, it is a concept that it is quite easy, in a way that the speed of a gun, it is determined by the weight of a gun, the point of balance of a gun, but we, as our approach, we always meant to have clear ideas how is the relations between the shooter and the tool. No doubt that for us was first the man and then the tool, not the man to service the tool. By doing this, we understood that in order to reach the level of between hand balancer, there is behind a long study always using the modern sciences and the modern application. So it has to do with the human being, with the bones structures of the human being, with the posture of the human being, with the biomechanic, that it is the movement that you do and the techniques that you're using to follow the target or whatever disciplines. And how the man, by using his center of the body and the axis, is interacting with the tool that for the way that has been built, it is unfortunately unnatural for our body. So it is a scientific approach. It is not by chance. It has been one of the longer studies we have made and longer investments we have made. That is the result of the sporting medicine applied to the sport, where doctors and engineers studies the connections between man and the tool. And obviously there are so many elements, Maria, you cannot imagine. When we did it at the beginning of the year 2000s, where Zoli was selling 3% of the total in sporting guns against the 65% of our total turnover today, for us opened a completely new world. And we understood at that time how the approach in general about this in our industry, or at least in Zoli, was so archaic, old in style, lot of love, lot of passion, but it was necessary to add something extra. And that's why now shooters feel this difference, because the risk have we invested so much in terms of time and money into this concept and assume that the shooters do not feel it. Then everything was going to be spoiled completely. We were lucky that all this translated into something that shooters feel it. For instance, most of the time when we enter in confidence, maybe with a shooter that is using a Zoli gun, and maybe we ask him, would you like to tell us if there is a cartridge that for whatever reason you like to shoot, but that maybe creates you problems in the recoil and in the comfort? And most of the time, the shooter answer, yes, there is one, but I cannot hold because it is creating headache or moving too much the gun and so on. And we say, okay, let's go and purchase one box. No, I already tried. Please, try. And then, with a great surprise, we feel that this cartridge is so wild in the reaction, become sweet. Maybe you can still feel that it is a powerful cartridge, but do not create the problem that usually has determined the fact that he decided not to use any longer this specific cartridge.
And how do you achieve the going down of recoil?
Well, as I told you, it's like to try to resume years of studies into few elements. I like to say something just to make a point of reflection. If the ballistic that Zoli today is capable to produce would be related only to few elements, everybody could reproduce the same ballistic. If the comfort and the easy and the relationship between the shooter and the gun that Zoli is being reaching today would have been the result of a few elements, everybody would be capable to offer the same situation. It is a clear indication that you need the 75 years of experience and you need to experiment in new ways. You need sometimes to go against the tradition, and I remind you once again that the tradition of today was an innovation of many years ago. So we need to be very passionate and to think that what we do on our daily job, it is exceptional, but must be exceptional. It is the efforts that do something that it is not easy to define, generally speaking. In Zoli company, we are inspired by this concept. We really wanted to go over the existing, and we meant to create something at the state of the art without trying to be the first of the class and letting the shooter and the customer to decide who is the best. We are not so proud up to a point to become aggressive. But the fact that we are working for something unique and special, then it is always related to the judgment of the shooter. And once again, over 36,000 for our size company competition guns in a high segment of the market, it is a result for which make me and mainly my employees and my distributors, my dealers, to be very proud.
Yes, you have a lot of reasons to be proud.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Paolo, and you always also have a very good and comfortable and easy system of the balanciers, which can be settled on the barrels. Let's tell to our followers about this system a little bit.
This was at the beginning of the year 2000, first example of, let's say, system to balance the gun, but a system that was integrated into the gun, not something that was joined afterwards. What consists? Consists into the fact that we have a weight introduced into the pistol grip of a stock and weight that are put underneath the foreign wood. Once again, these are two positions for which are related to the axis that the shooter is using. And they are in between hands once again. So we are covering the central part of the gun. And why it is important to say that it is integrated into the gun? Because going back to the scientific model we decided to follow to determine the behaving of our gun, we also have been working on every single component, barrels, not together with the gun, frame alone, hammers. So every single component had to be studied to answer to a specific, let's say, model before to become a whole gun. This is very important because if you think that you are going to balance or to regulate everything when the gun it is already together, once again, would be a dream, would be easy. It has to be done before, in every single component, before to become part of an entire product. So, knowing that, we in Zoli decided which were the limits of the change of the weights and the balance for our gun in order not to exceed and into ruining the original behaving that we meant to give to the gun. So we offer to the shooter the possibility to tune the product without ruining, without ruining the entire concept. So it's very important this, because think about you study many years and your engineers are doing a product that you would like to perform in a certain way, and you need to grant that those performances are not only told or transferred by words, but are kept by the product. And then somebody modify the product in the way that is going to destroy what has been studied years and years, maybe on a daily basis from the manufacturer. Obviously, when somebody decides to do it, he has purchased the gun and he can do whatever he wants. Don't misunderstand. He is free to do this. But when we offer a device to tune your products, we must be careful that within these regulations, you are not going to ruin the behaving of the gun. So that's why when we have introduced this device, a few people said, well, because Zoli was not capable to balance the gun. But the history tells us that after our BHP system, that we can call also as a B-lines, everybody else followed this example with different recipe. But it was a demonstration that once again Zoli was pioneering certain decision that has been lately by everybody, for which everybody has agreed, in principle at least. Then everybody has his own recipe and his own solution. We speak about ours, obviously.
Paolo, let us also discuss.
I don't hear you any longer.
Now? Can you hear now? Paolo?
No?
Hello?
Do you hear me?
Yes.
I don't hear you.
We can now disconnect and connect again.
I don't know what happened, but
maybe some problems with the internet. Yes.
Okay.
I would like to ask you to tell to the guys about your perfect high ribs, because we can never stop explaining to people that Zoli high rib is a very special case, because to do it, you absolutely change the gun in total. Please tell us about this.
Of course. Well, maybe we can mention that Zoli today it is also proud to have a product line dedicated to the competition gun, but it is probably the wider worldwide. So that means that we offer any kind of competition gun for any kind of disciplines. We customize the product if it is necessary, but that means that we have different, for instance, barrel length, like sporting 71, 73.5, 75, 78, 81, 86, with and without chokes. And we also have ribs. And now we come to your questions. So we have a flat rib, mid or step rib, as people like sometimes to call in different ways. High rib, but it is the HR11 or the HR16. And the high rib, it is also adjustable. So that means that you can change your point of impact following, let's say, your wish or your way of shooting, your style of shooting. The good things is that even though we started from one or two basic frame, because we have two different type of frames, for which we have the Kronos, this is Z Sport or Z Gun line, and with the XL Evo line. Then each gun, each model is studied individually. What I mean is that the barrels of the flat rib or the HR11 or the step rib are different in the components, in the point of balance, in the regulations, and not in the steel, for instance. Why this? Because once again, being a company specialized in competition gun has understood that it is not only question to give an answer to a demand coming from the market, but it is the question to give the answer to the demand that was forming, or it is more required, or it is the new trend in the market. Because there are companies like Zoli that can survive only being capable to supply what customer expect. And a lot of has to do for us with the performance of the gun. So that's why even if the frame of a Z gun, for instance, a Z Sport, it has the same frame for everybody. When it comes to the stock and when it comes to the rib, to the barrel, it is completely different. But not only because the rib is changing, because it's changing the pipes, it's changing the convergency of the gun, it is changing the way the gun is moving. Otherwise, every gun will be different from the cosmetic, from the aesthetic, but not performing differently from any other barrels. And the reason why people and shooters require different ribs and different behaving of a gun is because they need it. It's not just because it is a trend or it is a fashion. Okay, many shooters, they just do it because they like to change. But for us, as a manufacturer, we have the duty, the responsibility to verify that what we do, it is purposely done for the type of use that is requested by any potential shooter. And up to here, it is quite easy to understand. But how can we make and grant such a difference, avoiding to go against or contradict the family feeling? Here comes the critical part of it. Because you have to do something different, you have to do something new, you have to give a different approach, but never contradict the family feeling. And now we go back to the scientific model that was designed at the beginning of this project, for which every single specification must be performing within a minimum and the maximum tolerance. Mm-hmm. So you understand now how scientific and how complicated it is. It is not just a question to produce a gun or to say, I have a longer life firing pins, I can change my stock easily with a new one. I mean, these are old approaches. The new approach is to create something that it is really performing in a way that it is helping, friendly, supporting. The shooter do not need a complicated gun for which to perform at the highest level. You need to be always trained. Who is lucky enough to train like a champion? The champions, the ones that are at the top of every classifications around the world. We like to produce guns for them, but our first goal is to produce guns to perform perfectly for the weekend shooters. Mm-hmm. The majority of our customers, people like me, like you, Maria, people that is working every week hard 5 days, 4 days, and looking forward during the weekend to enjoy by shooting something or doing any kind of activity that makes them to relax. This is our job. It is to give them the most powerful weapon, sorry this word about weapon, guns, but weapons to make them to restore from the tough week with many problems that we know every day we have in this specific period too. So this is really the point. And since you cannot be trained like a champion, you need a friend. You need a product to support you, even when you are down, because it's going to be always helping you. And at the beginning of our experience, some shooters, when Zoli was not so well known like it is today around the world, sometimes some shooters were approaching us and telling, well, you know, the gun is good. I mean, I would like maybe to think to buy a Zoli, but you know, maybe I buy another brand because maybe in future, if I like to sell, if I like to do this, if I like to do that. And I was always very surprised because when I buy a tool to satisfy, first of all, me. And I cannot imagine sometimes shooters or people to purchase a product for any other reason but to give your satisfaction, sometimes to give you, now you deserve something, my friend talking to me. And sometimes it's important that this product, it is giving you a chance to be relaxed during your free time. And this is the number one priority from the shooter or from any athletes or weekend passionate customer doing whatever activity. So this is really the point, which is the best tool to satisfy you more than any other aspect. Then, obviously, now Zoli is well known. Zoli is not any longer in discussion, so there is no any longer shooters that are doing this kind or using this kind of approach. because now they are proud to buy Zoli, they test and they like it. But at the beginning, I saw people struggling with products, maybe even with a very good products, but not good for them, and suffering weekends after weekends. And think about the wives seeing his husband to go and shoot and come back even more nervous than before. I'm not telling you that we were thinking to the wives of the shooter when we were designing the gun, but this also has got a psychological effect. So in few terms, I'm using something nice, a little bit naive to explain a concept that it is behind every product producing an easy and a friendly approach. Behind this, there are the highest studies and the highest technologies. Because it's not just a product to put it together, for which then you say it's a matter of a shooter to take out the best. The approach from us is absolutely opposite.
Okay. Paolo, tell me something about your locking system, because I know that you have both type locking system, and why it is good for the shooter. Why you have chosen this system?
It is good for the shooter because the locking bolt boss type, as we call, is located in between the two pipes. In between the two pipes make that you are keeping the strength, for instance, for both barrels. If it is in the lump under, for instance, when you shoot the second barrel, the strength is, as you can see, it is stronger and it is not giving the same results. And it is also very important because the lifetime of a competition gun has got a lot to do with the bolt. And for us was not also enough to use a well-known system like a Boss locking system. We also decided to have a reinforcement of the locking system built on the lower part of the frame, where there is a recess for which one part of the barrel it is interacting against the frame. So actually we have two, as I can show you, we have 2 points where we can rely: the recess underneath the frame and the locking bolt here. So this is to hold the stress, the locking bolt in this direction, and this to hold the stress in this direction. And not only that, since we have a monolithic frame, that it is a very important. Since we have a monolithic frame, that it is very important for the strength and the behaving of the gun. So that means that there are no soldering; it is only one piece frame. We need to use electro-erosion, EDM technologies to create the housing for the locking bolt Boss type. And that allows us to treat harden the frame before to create the housing for the bolt. That means that there are no modifications at all. This is probably the most expensive way to create locking and ensure that the locking system is working perfectly. But once again, we don't like to compromise. We like to give the best to our shooters, and if the best means to use a system that takes 5 or 6 or 7 times more than to do something with a milling machine, even CNC, we do it. And this is a great advantage. You can also count to the fact that we have about 7 or 8 different bolt sizes, because if through the time your gun is shooting 500,000, 1 million, 2 million shots or whatsoever, you always have a system to replace your bolt and to renew your gun like it is new.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Paolo, and why all the producers of guns are trying to make the frame very low? What advantage of this low profile?
The advantage of this low profile is because you have the two barrels as close as possible.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why we are using such an expensive locking bolt system, it is because it allows to have a low profile frame.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a physical factor. To have two barrels close to each other, in line to a specific point where you put your gun, allows to distribute and dissipate the recoil in a much more natural way. More you have far away the two barrels, you may have this system and this system, this type of reaction. But it's very easy if I explain to you, for instance, take a look the side by side. Think about if you have the two barrels, one close to another one, and by joke between us, think about the two barrels far away. You see, bam, bam. So more we are close, we are more bam, bam. This type of reaction. The same with the over and under. And that's why we remove the locking bolt from the bottom side that require a little bit higher frame, so that the two pipes are very close. We have one of the closest pipe system available today in the market. But it is not easy, Maria, because you need to create a convergency to your barrels. In order to get a specific point of impact at a certain distance, because many times shooters don't talk too much about that, but the point of impact means a lot. That means that where you aim, you need to shoot with both barrels. Think about if one barrel is shooting a little bit separate from another one. Can you imagine multiplied by the distance? How means in terms of target? Maybe if one barrel is shooting a little bit more to the right, maybe you have a benefit in the right target, but you have a great disadvantage on the left one. And so in this type, so you need to have a point of impact to be perfect. So having the two barrels very close to each other, you need also to create a convergency to have a ballistic at a certain distance, they are matching to each other. And more you are narrow, more you are close, and more difficult it is to obtain it. We solved the problem without any worries in Antonio Zoli company. And we ask a shooter to verify sometimes the point of impact, because this is really something that would be, for shooters that they would like to know where they shoot, would be interesting. Obviously has to be done in a correct way. You cannot just go and try to find to shoot. No, you need a rest, you need to make your barrels to be flat. Must be done in a scientific way. Maybe guided by a shooter instructor or by a dealer or something like that. But this is really important also to have a low profile frame. And we have a very, very low profile frame.
Paolo, you told me that different lines of your guns, Kronos, Z, and Evo, have different ways of behavior, different characters. What character has Kronos? What character of behavior has Z? And what character has Evo? What is the difference between them?
More than the line of products, it is the different models. For instance, the ribs, because as I explained you already, Kronos has more or less the same specification as the Z Sport or the Z Extra or some other guns. And there it is the time that we dedicate to fix and to produce the product that makes it is this different. Different approach is instead related, for instance, to the different ribs. Think about a guy that has got a very short neck, assuming, you know, there are some guys that has got a short neck, for which I try them to sell a high rib. He will have difficulties, obviously. A guy with a long neck, I would suggest him to consider to have a mid or a high rib on his gun. So let's assume that there is a different barrel length, is a little bit more heavy in front, or then to be balanced the gun is a little bit more heavy in general. I would never suggest to a guy 165 centimeters tall to have 86 centimeters or 81 centimeters. I would rather suggest him to have a 75 or 78 centimeters barrel length as a maximum. A tall guy, without any problem, he can manage 81 or 86 centimeters. So sometimes it is like, I like also sometimes to offer some examples. We can use cartridges. Sometimes shooters ask me about which is the best cartridge to use on their guns. Most of the time, the difference is that between two brands, there is more difference between the same brands, a cartridge that has got 360 speed compared to 405 speed, than to compare the same speed between two different brands. So this is very important to be understood. So there are, for each type, think about, for instance, a shooter that he is very fast in shooting. And think another one that it is medium speed, or one that it is a low speed. So all these kind of considerations, they go above the different models in terms of names, but it is more related to how we suggest to configure the gun for the shooter. Obviously, if I sell a Kronos, I know that I have to produce it within a certain limit of time, because it's an entry level, even if it is already in a medium-high level of the market, but it is in our entry level, and I have a certain time to manufacture it. If I go on a custom product, I can spend days to dedicate to tune up to the best possible level. Does this results into not a good quality gun in this one and a very good quality gun in the custom? No, because in any case, when somebody purchases Zoli, any shooter purchase quality, purchase true facts, purchase experience in the background, purchase a product that is also reaching records. So, Mathieu Delmas, records, man, 200 out of 200. This is a true fact. Silver, gold, bronze, medal. I mean, so once again, this is one of the part of the balance. When we're talking about the gun, it is important also to verify, not only by words, that the company has been winning so many world championships in so many different disciplines. There are so many guns already in the market, so the gun has become mature. And we made different records of world. So I mean, the balance means that all the ingredients are there, and logically, those score and those result has been achieved not because of one top shooters, but by many, many shooters that sometimes are not even top shooters, but are just weekend shooters that has been capable, thanks to Zoli, to achieve certain score and certain result that were unknown before to shoot a Zoli. I told you in the past that Shooters itself created a kind of slogan for Zoli. Shoot Zoli and discover your true potential. This was one of the greatest compliments we received. And this was not invented by us. This was given and offered by every shooter using Zoli, telling, I have discovered a new potential on myself. And this is the job. This is the job, Maria. Everybody has got a potential. Before me to win against you, that maybe you have been gifted to have a potential 90% and me 80%. My job it is to reach 80% of my potential. This is the first competition. That's why we have been studying this product for the weekend shooters. And that's why afterwards the top shooter appreciated. But we were working for the weekend shooter to say, we are not all champions, but let's first achieve our best potential and then try to make another step, another progression on what you do. So, as you can see, Zoli is offering an all-round philosophy about the competition games. And this is part of our success, even today in COVID situation, for which, honestly, we are even surprised. We are quite successful in opening new market even today.
And the last question. In what countries are most important for Zoli? To which country you sell more guns compared to other?
Let's say that today we don't see a situation very consistent. Since COVID-19 came, the situation is like the market is using drug in a way that there is not a consistent, there is no logic. But obviously, we are proud to say that there are markets where we are increasing our sales in a very strong way. One is United States, one it is France, and Middle East area is very important. And then the other market, due to the situation of today, are keeping the level. And for us, it is a great success. Think about all the shooting ranges that has been closed.
Yes, yes.
I mean, no activity, and we are still full, and not even thinking about the custom shop. We just came out with a new catalog that has got 10 pages more than the last one. The catalog 2001 is 75 pages. These are the last 2 pages of the catalog, in which our line is introducing all the new products that or is presenting all the new products that during COVID time has been introduced and sold successfully, are more in the higher parts of the market. But so it's unbelievable how in such a period we have been forced to introduce new model and to give a new answer to the demand increasing from the market. So we hope we don't know what is going to happen tomorrow, but what has been happening up to now and from what looks like to 2021, it is making us quite happy. I think the market and the distributor has understood the potential that is located in Zoli products. That we can cover such a wide range of the market, and the fact that Zoli has taken such an important position also in terms not of techniques only, but in terms of brand recognition. It is what has been making Zoli to start to collect results from the hard job that has been carried out on a daily basis during the last 15 years. And I'm sorry that we have not been capable to send you a new catalog, Maria, because it was just printed 1 week or 10 days ago. And also we are going to print also one nice and interesting leaflets that tells why Zoli. And this is going to be very interesting because there are many interesting points mentioned. It is not too technical, it is not too easy, but the arguments included in these leaflets will help shooters to understand a little bit more about the Zoli philosophy.
You can send it to me by email, at least I can read it.
Well, the new catalog is already online on the website, so you can see since 4 or 5 days, you can see all the new products included. And the Why Zoli is going to be printed in 1 week time. As soon as we have it, we will also send it to you and so on.
Okay. Paolo, I hope that we shall organize with you a next meeting quite soon as you can, because we have a lot of questions about combination guns of Zoli. Because, you know, we have Corona, we have Focus, we have MG92, and this is very interesting products and not so often produced. And I kindly invite you, if you find the time for us, to tell us about these products. It would be very interesting, very interesting.
No problem at all. I'll be happy to be available whenever you wish. Can be also next week if you like. Very happy to explain our experience in products that are also important for Zoli. And as you say, maybe not so common any longer, but for which historically we are very close to it because the company many years ago was totally related to this product. And the products that has something unique that no other products has also, and that normally are not required on those type of products, but that will be very interesting to let the consumer and the hunters to discover it.
Yes, let's hope that we shall do it next week.
Very good, very good.
Paolo, we all were very happy to hear you. I will put this interview in English on our YouTube channel, and I will send to you a link so you can use it in your international business.
Thank you very much.
And of course, tomorrow we shall do the translation, and we shall put the Russian translation into this one. And these parts of the interview will also appear on our YouTube channel, and we shall use it for our business.
Fantastic. Very good. I appreciate that because just to give an important sentence, doesn't matter what we do within the door of Antonio Zoli. If this is not brought outside, doesn't mean anything unless a shooter, by chance, it is testing a Zoli gun. The fact that we try to explain this using whatever media possible to explain is going to help very much the distribution of our products and a very correct information for the shooters that are very, very, very careful and very curious to learn every time something new from the industry.
Yes, yes. And I think that our task of me and you is to help people to find the best gun on the market and to find them Zoli.
We hope so, and we are always ready to be to participate to this kind of information. Grazie.
Grazie, Paolo. Grazie. Arrivederla.
Spasiba, and have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye.
Arrivederci. Ciao.